the lack of verbal communication between nurses and doctors, the people who were on the front lines dealing with him. They were too busy putting information into their computers or writing it down on their clipboards, and they just didn't bother to relay some very crucial information by voice that would have warned them this was a special case. This was someone who had just come from Liberia.
Mm-hmm. We had, of course, we're asking all the same questions that you and other reporters are. I know that one of our reporters earlier in the week was asking a question of the Texas Department of Health and was initially told there was a flaw in the electronic system. Then they later backed off of that and said that it's being looked into. But specifically, you're pinpointing the issue that it wasn't, I believe the word you used was not orally passed along. Instead of relying on a computer, you're saying had only, be it the nurses or the doctors, passed along in person, face-to-face, this information that he'd come from Liberia, the game would have changed.
Exactly. This should never have been treated like a routine emergency room case. They are supposed to ask the patients, have you been traveling recently? Where have you been traveling from? Where did you come from? In this case, there's a little bit of discrepancy from the hospital whether he answered that question as I came from Africa or I recently traveled from Africa, or whether he specifically said Liberia. But the question isn't supposed to be what continent did you come from, it's supposed to be what country did you come from. And that would have alerted everybody. They most certainly asked that question. If they didn't, they were remiss. That was where they fell down.
And then had they not been remiss, perhaps he would have been placed in isolation and they would have been able to address the issue, address the infection much, much earlier. Then there's the other layer to this story, which you include in your piece, which we've discussed on this show. You have this Dallas County Commissioner by the name of John Wiley Price, right? So he is suggesting that this man was denied immediate treatment because of his race and because of his income, but you say it is unproductive to even go there. What's your explanation?
Exactly. Yeah, you know, John Wiley Price is famous for making these kinds of statements and introducing race into just about any discussion. This is a guy who was famous for denouncing one of his fellow commissioners for using the term black hole. He said it was a racist remark. So that gives you a bit of the context behind his remarks. This wasn't a race issue. It was an issue of doctors being alerted to an international health alert and following the directives that they were given by the CDC.
What about, Todd, just off of this specific case, but the fact that you are there, this is, you know, if I may, ground zero for Ebola in the United States, where you are in Dallas. And so now that we're starting to see these pop-up Ebola scares in your state, you're talking to people. Is there a sense of true fear? What's the sense from people in Dallas?
Everybody's talking about it. Everybody is nervous about it. Everybody has their own solution to what should happen. You know, shut down all flights from Africa. Ted Cruz wants to shut down the border with Mexico. That would cure Ebola. That would cure the ISIS problem in Syria and Iraq. Everybody has
What
their
about
own
not
solution,
Ted Cruz? What about regular folks in your state? What are they saying?
Okay, regular people are just talking about it a lot. Wherever you go, restaurants, on the tennis court, it's what everybody wants to talk about. And I happen to play tennis just a few blocks from from the apartment complex where he was staying, so it's been on my mind a lot. You think about little things about, you know, do I need to be careful about door handles that I touch and things like that. It's obvious that just some extra sanitation precautions on everybody's part would calm everyone's nerves, but really this is such an isolated case. Everybody hopes that it will be limited to just one case.
Right, absolutely.
Perhaps there is a risk of other, but this is just one case.
Hopefully it is one and done in the United States. I'm Tod Robberson from the Dallas Morning News. Thank you so much for your reporting and coming on the show. I really appreciate it.